Good evening. I'd like to welcome to the workshop meeting for Monday, April 12th, 2021. And with that, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
to the flag
of the United States of America
And to the republic
stands
stands
One
for
nation,
which it stands one nation
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
and
for all.
justice for all. Okay, thank you, everyone. Next, we'll have the roll call, so I'll turn it over to Deanna.
Liz McNaney, President.
Here.
Denise Hall, Vice President.
Here.
Martha Similaro, Commissioner.
here.
Catherine Carter, Commissioner.
Here,
Ruth Damsker, Commissioner. Ruth,
oh, maybe she's frozen. I think she is.
okay, we'll come back to her. Sandra Zadell, Township Manager.
I'm here.
Megan Weaver, Assistant Township Manager.
Here.
Lauren Gallagher, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Isaac Kessler, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police.
Here.
David Brill, Finance Director.
Here.
Van Reeker, Zoning Officer.
Here.
Ruth Damsker, Commissioner. Ruth, you muted.
Deanna, I would just count her as here. She'll get that.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Deanna. And we'll just wait to hear for Ruth to fix her issues there. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, the announcement of executive sessions.
Here.
Oh, yay, she's here. Okay.
I'm here.
All right. So item number 4, I'll turn it over to Solicitor Gallagher.
Thank you, President McNaney. The board did meet in executive session on April 5th to discuss several items of personnel and potential litigation.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is public comments and concerns. Do we have any callers for this evening?
We have no callers in the queue.
Okay. Let me just get back. Thank you for that. So at this point, I will turn the meeting over to the Township Manager.
Thank
Sandra
you.
Zadell.
Thanks, President McNaney. The first item to review on the work session agenda is the public hearing that we're going to hold for 467 Sumneytown Pike. This hearing will be held on April 20th, and pretty much all of our comments regarding that hearing should happen at the hearing. So we will just move on from that. For the manager's report, I had put a placeholder here for an EAC grant application. I just wanted to let the board know that we're working with Remington Vernick and Isaac's team to put together a grant application that could give potential funding for some of the EAC activities, such as the rain barrel workshop that the EAC is hosting in June, which I want to remind residents, please register for it. We have some spots available, and the Environmental Advisory Council has sponsored a portion of the cost to create your own rain barrel and install it at your home. So it's a very affordable $35 program being held at Parkside Place, I think on June 14th. So it's a great program, and this grant that we're looking at would help fund programs like that, tree plantings, things of that nature. So stay tuned for that. Any questions from anyone? Okay, moving right along, we go to Van's report. So Van, if you could hop on and
Thank you, Madam Manager. Okay, so some of these you've heard before, but let's tick through the first half dozen. CHB 2007 WB Homes. This is an announcement. That hearing has been heard and it was approved on March 23rd by the Zoning Hearing Board. The plans and the proposals I think are well known to you. Their conditions were that they follow all the exhibits, the plans, and the testimony presented. My memory is that there was interested neighbors. There was no neighbor opposition, which I think is to the credit of those of you who worked hard over the last year and a half to come up with a plan that seemed to be acceptable to a wide range of folks. Questions on that one? So that was approved. It'll go to, the next step would be that it would go into, following the 30-day appeal, go into land development. You'll be seeing that plan, the engineering version of it, probably in 3 or 4 months. Okay. 180 Wissahickon, final plan approval. I think that's on Megan's schedule as well. That was approved by you with conditions, and I'm not actually sure where those conditions are at this point. They're being handled by staff. Megan is in command of that. Megan, do you want to add anything at this point, or are we okay?
No, I think we're okay. We're just waiting for some of the items to be finalized, and then they can have their pre-construction meeting scheduled. But we are still waiting for some of those conditions to be satisfied.
Thank you. Next, Liberty Gas is one that's been on the agenda. You've heard it before. It's a sign variance for some signs that they want to erect, and oops, had erected without a permit. So they'll be heard by the zoning hearing board 2 weeks from tomorrow. It may be one of those types of proposals that you would like the solicitor to attend. My suggestion would be that they be made aware of I think I said this before, Royal Farms, which is about to open, had been through a very similar kind of request, and some of the signage was approved, some denied, and my hope would be that, my expectation would be that if approved, that the signage would be commensurate with those elements that were approved by the zoning hearing board previously for the Royal Farm pad site. That's all of the ZHBs except for the one in Worcester are to be heard in 4 weeks. Shops at Upper Gwynedd, that's just a repeat. It's a placeholder. You heard that is to be, it was discussed briefly by Sandra, and the public hearing for that will be next week. The next one, 2104 22 Hunter Road, front yard variance to permit a sunroom, dimensional variance, fairly routine as dimensional variances go in the R2 residential district. Any questions on that one? It would be a 1-story addition is what they are, what they've asked for. Next, ZHB 2105. This is the next two are new, and you haven't. There's actually one that's on here, not on here. I'll have to verbalize. 800 North Wales Road is Geisley Automatics. That's an LI district, right on the edge of the borough. Many of you know it or know it well. It's close to the train station. They have requested approval to construct a slab so that they can use it for equipment and machinery to access the rear of their building. The slab would intrude into the 100-foot required buffer yard between a residential neighbor and their building. Now, the building is non-conforming dimensionally. It pre-exists in all likelihood most of the zoning standards we currently have in place. But in order for that to be granted, they'll need to obtain a dimensional variance from the zoning hearing board. They would be required, if granted, to provide a landscape screening along in the area between the slab and the neighbor. The slab, I think the use of the slab, the details are going to be important. It's my understanding that it's really more for access and an interim use when they have to service equipment and access that part of the building to move things around, that it will not be an area where there will be regular and routine storage of stuff. So we'll have to hear that in detail from the applicant, this is one that you may want to consider sending the solicitor to, if not to at least, observe and participate. I should add that it's not on here. 2106-447 just came in under the wire. We added it to it's a rear yard, Amity Lane. Amity Lane is at the very corner of the township, 202 and Hancock Short Cul-de-sac Street, and the applicants are requesting a variance to construct a deck patio and a pergola to extend 9 feet into the rear yard setback. Sorry, that's not on the agenda. It's my mistake. I think that was added probably after we put this together. Will be in the paper, and the neighbors have been notified. So that is, again, more or less a routine dimensional variance, rear yard variance. Roosevelt Court is scheduled. That's an active subdivision and land development application that is scheduled for the Planning Commission this coming Wednesday in 2 days, 2 nights. And there have been through a series of reviews and oversight comments by township staff and their consultants. And I would anticipate, although there's no certainty, I would anticipate that the Planning Commission would take action, probably favorable, which means that in a month or 3, this would be an action item for you, the board. And then finally, we don't get many of these, but 2816 Marsh Road, Sandra had asked that I add this to the agenda, and I think it's just to keep you all informed in case a constituent would call you. This is an application in Worcester Township, Marsh Road, which abuts, of course, Upper Gwynedd. Those of you that know Blue Fox Drive, it's opposite, the property is opposite the other side of Marsh Road from the retention basin at the corner of Blue Fox and Marsh Road. Their request is one before their zoning hearing board to permit a group home of, apparently, according to the information, from 4 to 6 individuals to be detailed at their hearing to be used as a sober house, which is a form of group home, which is basically has been approved by the federal, by the FHA. It's considered those are considered to be persons in need, considered of persons that need to be rehabilitated. Thus, it's a protected class of individuals. There'll be 4 or 6 of them in a residential setting in Worcester. The way you get there is by way of a special exception. They've asked for that special exception. I reviewed the application, and there are no external changes proposed to the property. The residents will live within the context of the existing. It's about a 2.5 acre site. The neighbors, some neighbors in Upper Gwynedd within a 500-foot reach of the site have or will be notified. And that's one of the reasons we wanted you all to know about it, is that we may get called. We may get calls to that. Are there questions about that one?
Van, just so the board knows, the board could also send your solicitor to monitor that hearing if you felt it valuable. But I think we have not heard from any residents about this, unless that changed since we talked earlier, Van. And I think in Worcester, I spoke with their manager, and they had 1 call from our residents. So there's not, a ton of activity happening from township residents on this application.
Do we have other group homes, like Cassandra? Do we have other group homes in the township?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
This is in, to be clear, this is in Worcester. Our neighbors have been notified. Their pathway to a group home approval is slightly different legislatively than the way you get to be a group home in Upper Gwynedd. But we just wanted you to be aware of the application, and as I say, to repeat, a number of perhaps 15 to 20 neighbors have or about to be notified by Worcester Township, not by us. What we notify when we have a perimeter property, for those of you that might be wondering, I just thought of it, we notify the zoning officer in the adjoining municipality if it's Talmenson, Lansdale, North Wales, Worcester, Whitpain, and we let them do the notifications. In this instance, their manager, Tommy Ryan, has asked us to provide the names as if following the 500-foot radius that we would normally use. And we did, we have, and so that's why it's a little different than perhaps anything you've heard recently in this area. Are there questions? I think I'm finished on this.
Were there any questions for Van from the board on any of those zoning hearing board reports? Okay, thanks, Van.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Isaac Kessler from Remington Vernick Engineers. Hi, Isaac.
Hi, Sandra. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. The engineering report for this month has been attached with the agenda for this evening, and I wanted to just highlight a few that are listed on there that are most active right now. One is the road program for this year. The contracts are being finalized. They're just about done. We have noted here the pre-construction meeting is to take place within the next 2 weeks. And a bit of an update on that, we'll have that actually tomorrow morning with the contractor and their sub and some township staff. So we're looking forward to getting that moving to give residents and the commissioners a rough idea of what to expect there. The curb ramp portion of the project, which will be Moyer Boulevard, a section of South Broad Street, and the other two neighborhoods included in the contract. That'll be done prior to any milling and paving, so the ramps are always done first, which involves the curbing that goes along with it, and then they come through afterwards to do the roadway paving. The complete work is specified to be completed no later than the 20th of August this summer. So with the kickoff tomorrow, we have no reason to believe they'll go right up against that date. They're looking to get going, so we should be on a good pace to get that work completed here coming up shortly. The North Wales Trail Crossing Improvements Project, we are working to wrap up the requested documents from PennDOT for the highway occupancy permit that's necessary for that, with North Wales Road being a PennDOT roadway. And a few things that we're gathering together for that, one of which is later on the agenda tonight, the traffic signal maintenance agreement update for PennDOT. And they also have requested a letter of support from Wissahickon Trails. That corner there, the sidewalk is actually on their property, the way it kind of comes off of the curb there. So PennDOT requested that they provide a letter to show that they have no issue with improving the crossing there and the ramps and corner of the sidewalk that goes along with it. So their meeting's a bit later in the month here. Afterwards, we're hoping to include that letter and get everything back for final approval. Once that approval is met, then we can move right into looking to towards the construction of the work to improve that crossing there. Then the final item I wanted to highlight tonight is also one brought up a little later in the agenda, but the Haynes Run stream bank improvements and flood mitigation work that we're progressing and ongoing right now. There is a series of grants we're looking to offset the phased work that we're looking to do upstream of the treatment plant. Some of the immediate work is done right outside where the access way is for the treatment plant, and the kind of longer term work is upstream of that to control some of the large storms that come through and the water that's generated by those. So the grant that's later in the agenda this evening, the DCNR grant, that is one due this month, and that focuses more on the design and study of the area to lay out all the engineering and design work. And then the grants that would be coming due in May focus more on the construction costs. So that's the order of the kind of the way the grants roll out, which kind of lines up with what we're looking to accomplish out there as well. So if there's any questions on these, I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, as mentioned, the full engineering report of our project status is included with the agenda this evening as well.
Okay, are there any questions for Isaac? Is there any public comment? I just wanted to check in a few times throughout the agenda.
Sure, no public comment.
Okay, thank you. So moving along, we get into the first section of the agenda, and we have item number 12, staff departmental reports. I'd like to move this and items 13 and 14 to the consent agenda, if that's okay with the board. Seeing a lot of shaking heads, so that should be fine. And then, so today we have something special because we have so many items. I don't know why this always happens in the spring in Upper Gwynedd Township, but we get turned into like busy little bees and have a million things on our agendas. So tonight we're going to ask the board to make a few decisions on some items on the agenda, just so that next week at our business meeting, the meeting won't be too onerous. So this is our first decision item, and I will turn it back to President McNaney once votes required. And so it's a motion to appoint Rob Morse to the IDA for a term expiring December 31st, 2021.
Thank you, Sandra. So do we have a motion to appoint Robert Morse to the IDA?
So moved.
We have, I'm sorry, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it. We'll be looking forward to having Robert Morse join that committee. So next on the agenda, still some more decisions. Item number 16, it's a motion to approve resolution 12, 2021. Maintaining permanent documents, in the PDF format, A format. We've all had a chance to read through that. So is there a motion to approve resolution 12, 2021?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Thank you. Any public comment?
Yes, we have public comment on this one. I'll bring him in. It will be Mark. Mark has been brought in. Mark, *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, Mark. Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
I'm sorry, I think he just muted himself. Mark, *6, please.
Oh.
Hi,
There we
can
go.
everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hi, Mark. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, it's Mark Connolly, 11 Kearney Drive. So I just wanted to mention something about this because I know this is one of those kind of things where everybody goes, oh, it's great, we can get rid of paper. Oh, and we can have everything electronic. And as a programmer, I really appreciate that. As someone who studied library science and who's worked with historical records, it makes me a little bit nervous. I would urge the board to use caution in deciding what record series to include under this, because I guess from what I understand, I guess each record series that you would want to include, you would have to fill out a separate Appendix E. But some of the things to think about, for example, is someone? Some of the things to think about, permanent records that are scheduled as permanent are the kinds of things that potentially affect the rights of residents of the township. They're the kind of things that potentially, we're not talking here necessarily 20-year time frame, think 100-year time frame. And, if the system that you guys create, are using now, which looks like it's a proprietary system, let's say that company goes out of business after 20 years. What happens to those records? Are you guys able to open those records? And those are the kind of things that, I would just urge caution when going all the way to PDFA and destroying paper records. Like I said, I know that there's a lot of stuff on the schedules that says permanent that probably shouldn't, but there are also a lot of other things that really are important, and that, like I said, 100-year time frame, you want to make sure are still there. And, with all of the hacking that's been going on lately, I know, for example, Luzerne County had issues where, they had to restore systems. I think Philadelphia had some issues. Delaware County had some issues. You don't want to be in a situation where, you get ransomware and then all these permanent records go bye-bye. So I would just urge the board to, use a little bit of caution with this one. Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't get unmuted. Thank you, Mark, for that insight. Lauren or Sandra, was there anything that you wanted to add or to say with regards to Mark's comments?
Yes, I certainly understand Mark's comments. I think that we all feel the same way that Mark does, and that's why these records have not been converted to PDFA yet. But, these records were also, these are the series of records that we have are old records that are in storage now off-site. So they're records that we so infrequently utilize that for years they've been stored off-site and no one's, asked for them in an open records request or come up. And I also think, at some point as a municipality, you have to bite the bullet and decide you're going to embrace the technology. And the reason that they make you do the PDFA, I think, is because it's more secure of a type of PDF for retention. And the company that we use to retain the records does do multi-geographical backup. So their servers, I don't think I said that right, but it basically means they have servers in 2 different locations. And there's also a cloud-based element. So I'm relatively assured that we'll always be able to have access to the records, but with all things electronic, that doesn't always mean always, but it's the same with paper. If there's a flood or a fire or a bug infestation, you can lose paper records as well. So in both cases, you can lose a permanent record. It's just a matter of how we want to do it. And, this is just something we've proposed as staff. If the board would like us to keep the paper, that's no problem. We'll keep the paper, but we will have continued storage costs for the paper just because we can't store it any longer. We're running out of space. So if anyone on the board had any, or Lauren, if you had something to add, I saw you nodding as I was speaking. So I figured you were on the same page.
Yeah, you hit most of the points that I would have pointed out, which is essentially that there's risk no matter how you're storing records. And I think that electronic storage probably has the fewer risks. And I have seen more and more municipalities moving towards this electronic storage to avoid the risks of flood, fire, or just, human error in misplacing documents. So it is, it's not perfect, but there is no perfect system that I'm aware of.
That's true.
I guess, Ruth.
I just wanted to ask, is there any, does somebody make that decision that they go into that, into the documents, whatever, that offsite or whatever? Is there any historical things that you would want to make sure that were protected?
Yes. So,
we
follow
history of our.
Yeah, we follow the PA historic guidelines. So the PAHC, I don't know if I'm getting those right, but they have an entire manual that we have to follow for what documents are permanent retention, what documents we can destroy, what documents, as far as like storing permanent versus destruction, these records that we're talking about are all marked permanent. So they can't be destroyed, but getting rid of the paper and saving the electronics does not equal destruction. That means we still have the permanent record. And just so you know, the way that the the PHMC used to make you retain these records was microfiche, which always made me like
Yes.
giggle a little bit, because who has a
Yeah.
microfiche? You know, no
Yeah.
municipalities
Right.
have.
No, that's
microfiche
really old.
here.
That's no longer
Yeah.
used. Yeah.
So it was like you could, a lot of towns were converting to electronic without the new process being in place. But the Municipal Records Retention Act has come a little further, and now we can choose this PDFA option.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Sandra,
Was,
you're not, when I read the memo, it's not everything that's going to be, it's just what is already in storage. Am I
Yes,
reading,
this
understanding that
is,
correctly?
Well, this will be that, correct. We're not just going to all of a sudden purge all of our paper. So for example, right now we're working on scanning in all of the property files. The property files are not on this list of this group of documents. Right now, I don't have the list of the documents at hand, but Megan or Dave might be able to help me a little better with that. These are very old construction plans. I think things like that. Megan, there you popped in. Can you
Yes,
help me with?
large format plans. A lot of
Okay.
them are old building permit plans that we had storage down in the basement. We did start to kind of run out of room, so we were going through the process of having all of those large format plans scanned in.
And so in some cases, these plans may already have, you know, something else has maybe taken its place, but in that case, we would have been able to destroy them. But there was just, they were taking up a lot of space. So now they'll be in our system, which is called Trino. We can call them up. You can search, like Lauren mentioned earlier. Once you convert it to electric, you can search so much easier than even just misplacing documents. You just search by the parcel, the street address, all sorts of things. And it makes it a lot easier to actually have those documents at your fingertips.
Okay. My last
So no, this
question,
doesn't mean that we will
the last
destroy
page of
every
the memo,
document.
page 3 on the memo, is that an application for when you're searching for it, for like the public to fill out the form?
No, that page is what we will have to fill that out for the series of records. So it basically lists and is a way to catalog what we've converted to permanent electric storage versus paper storage. So it's sort of like a list of appendix that we'll keep on file. So we can say, okay, large format building permit plans from 1962 to 1992 have been
Okay.
stored electronically.
Okay, thank you.
was there any other board member that had any questions before we vote? No? That was all helpful information, what Mark provided, and thank you, Sandra and Lauren, for that, and Megan helped clear some things up. So with that, are we ready to take a vote on this? All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes so have it. Give me 1 second here. Moving on, next on the agenda, item number 17 is a motion to approve resolution 13/2021, the pre-treatment fees for 2020. That's all in the memo with that. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
All right, great. Thank you. Any additional board comments? Hearing none, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did everybody vote? I only heard 3 ayes.
I think we saw everyone's hands.
All
So
right.
yeah.
Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.
So then the ayes so have it. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is item number 18, the decision to observe December 31st, 2021 as the New Year's holiday. Sandra, did you want to explain that a little bit, why that's on there?
Sure, no problem. Oh, sorry, I wasn't sure if I was muted or not. I got confused for a second. We just failed to advertise this holiday. It falls a little differently on the Saturday, which is actually the 1st of 2022. So we just wanted to correct that error and have it be advertised and, observe the holiday as our non-uniform manual, personnel manual dictates.
Great, thank you. So do we have a motion to approve the date, December 31st, as a holiday? Did I say that right? To observe December 31st. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye, sorry.
I believe we have them all. So the motion, the ayes still have it, motion passes. Sandra, do I hand this back to you now?
Yeah, thanks, President McNaney.
Sure.
Next up is the proclamation for Arbor Day in Upper Gwynedd Township. Pretty exciting because this will be our first one. So we plan a celebration to do some plantings at the Center Street area, which will be great, just by the newly improved walking path. This will be on May 1st. And the EAC is leading this event in conjunction with our Park and Rec department. So we're excited. And if the board passes the proclamation next week at the business meeting, then we will read it at the event in a very official manner.
Is that
after
at
the
9
trees are
a.m.?
planted.
Is that at
Yeah.
9 a.m.?
Mhm. Are there any other questions about that? Okay, sorry, go ahead, Denise.
I just wanted to say that I really love this proclamation, and I'm really especially thrilled with that almost last line. We urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. I would love it if you could
Nice.
engrave it on something. I wish we had something to engrave. I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
That is good. That is cool.
it is a nice proclamation. We'll read it in full at the meeting next on the 20th. So that's exciting. And again on Arbor Day. Next up, we have the hiring of a staff accountant. We are not fully ready to do this, but we probably will be by the next meeting. So we put it on here as a placeholder. And then we move on to Commissioner Hull's section, where we will have a mark waiver request, item 21, for work to complete the exterior siding in their modular building. Are there any questions about that one? We will also be considering, or not we, because I'm not part of it, but you all will be considering land development approval for the Merck WP32 freezer facility. So we have included the packet there, and I see Commissioner Hull has a question or comment, so I'll turn it over to her.
No, just not to interrupt your flow, but for item number 21, is that going to go on the consent agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you mean item, oh yes, 21.
21.
The waiver
waiver
approval?
request.
Sure, yes, thank you.
It's kind of a
Thanks.
constant on our agenda, so.
Yes, very common. Are there any questions about the land development approval for Merck for building 32? Now's the time to discuss it. They will be present at the meeting on the 20th and doing a presentation, which you have in your packet as well. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, we will move on. Okay, next up is another item that's more commonly seen lately is the Shops at Upper Gwynedd escrow release in the amount of $40,150. Would everyone be okay with this going to the consent agenda? Yes, I see
Yes.
some yeses. Okay, great. So we will move item 23 to the consent agenda. And President McNaney, it's your turn again. We have 2 decision items on item 24 and 25.
Okay. Thank you. Let me just get back to that. All right, so item number 24 is a decision for a motion to approve the following fence encroachment agreements. Do we have to do this, I'm sorry, individually, or can we just do them all together?
There are 4
Lauren?
separate agreements involving 4 separate properties, so I would recommend taking 4 separate votes.
Okay, so then do we have a motion to approve the fence encroachment agreements for 811 Keating Drive?
Commissioner McNaney,
Yes,
can I just ask Sandra just to remind us all what the fence encroachment agreements are, just the general, in case someone is watching and doesn't know what a fence
Bonjour.
agreement is exactly.
Sandra, did you want to explain that, or Megan?
Yeah, sorry, I was talking, but I was muted. So it's my meeting to be bad at today. So encroachment agreements for fences we are an agreement that where we have the board give permission to allow residents to have fences go across easements that are preserved for some reason. Sometimes it could be stormwater easement, or it could be like an open area, natural area easement. And our rule is generally that they can place it, but we need to always be able to still have public access to those areas.
Okay. Denise, was that good? I mean, was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No. We didn't need to get into any detail. I just wanted her to remind us of the general
Okay,
definition of it, so we all have an idea of what we're actually approving.
okay, cool. So let's go back to, then do we have a motion to approve the fence encroachment agreements for 811 Keating Drive?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
We have no public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes so have it. Next would be for the fence encroachment agreement for 387 Langenberg Drive. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes so have it. The next one is the fence encroachment agreement for 167 Menham Drive. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Public comment?
No public comment.
Thanks. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes so have it. And last but not least, do we have a motion to approve the fence encroachment agreement for 127 West Prospect Avenue?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it. The next decision will be for a motion to approve the following stormwater best management practice operations and maintenance agreement. So I'm assuming, again, we'll have to do these both separately. So for the first one, it's at 1039 Charter Oaks Drive. So do we have a motion to approve stormwater best management practices, operations, and maintenance agreements for that first address?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Thanks. Any additional board comment?
I have a question.
Sure.
When I read the plan, it says something about a pool. So I guess just for my own education and understanding, how does a motion to approve the stormwater best practices have to do with someone putting an in-ground pool in?
Sure. So when people make a change to their property in a way that affects stormwater, so I think it's over 1,000 square feet, Isaac, you can jump in if I get that wrong, and require a grading permit, then they have to provide stormwater management for that impact onto their property. So if you put in a pool, you have more, it changes the property, and you need to do a stormwater agreement for any stormwater BMPs that are installed as part of the project, such as, a rain garden or a swale or anything along those lines. Did I get that right, Isaac?
No, that's exactly right. And I'll just add, typically the trigger for needing stormwater is the decking or the pool deck that's along with it. The pool itself isn't so much what's the worry of water being flowed off the property. It's the added either concrete pool deck or area that surrounds the pool. And that's the case with this one. They have a good size area that is surrounding the pool that they have the stormwater management on the property now to balance that out.
Okay, because the application reads kind of funny. It doesn't really say anything about the stormwater. It talks more about the pool. That's why I was a little confused.
Right, yeah, it is. The application, the permit application is for an in-ground pool. And then the site grading that we take a look at, just per the ordinance, if it's over a certain square footage for that new impervious area that goes along with, and they're required to have some stormwater control to make sure that water isn't flowing off of the property quicker than it was before they did their project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sandra and Isaac and Catherine for the question. So I guess we're at the point now where we will take a vote on this. So all in favor to approve?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it. The last one is we're looking for a motion to approve the stormwater best management practices, operations and maintenance agreement for 1131 South Broad Street. So do we have a motion to approve?
So
I'll make
moved.
I'm gonna let Deanna call that one. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Catherine. Good. This is good.
Again, Isaac, I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with all of this. And so again, trying to read the agreement, is it that this is a brand new property or they're tearing down their old house and because they already own the property?
It's a single family home being constructed. And
There's nothing there right now.
let me check if they're taking down a structure. I do forget that part, and bear with me.
Nothing there right now, Isaac.
There's nothing there. Thank you, man.
Okay.
And likewise, it's the added impervious that requires the management of the stormwater. And just to kind of clarify the operation and maintenance agreements, it's still on the private property. They're responsible for the maintenance and the upkeep of the stormwater facility. This agreement, when we see it come across the agenda here, is just them acknowledging an agreement with the township that if it's not maintained, then it starts to basically not function, and there's an issue with the stormwater because of that. We have the right to go and make sure that it's up to snuff, in so many words, to make sure it's working properly.
So the township,
What does it mean by lot consolidation? Are they have more than one parcel that they're building on?
Yeah, this was a
On the application,
consolidation
it
of,
says lot consolidation.
Yeah, this was a lot consolidation that was approved in the early part of 20. And I think it was 3 or 4 small parcels that were consolidated so that they could build one single family residence.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, the application, they just are very confusing. The application doesn't seem to coincide with what's on the agenda.
Yes, the application that you see is their application to do the work, and what you're approving is the agreement for the stormwater. So we give you the application so you can see what the work was.
Okay.
And I also, if there is a stormwater issue, does this agreement state that it is their responsibility to correct it? Or is it the
Yes,
township's?
and
It's their,
it
it's
is
the homeowner's
homeowners,
responsibility.
but it also gives us the right to enter and correct it if they fail to do so, which I was going to comment that I hope that I am not retired by the time we start using these types of agreements, because if they had done these in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we would be in such a better position now for stormwater all over the township.
Thank you, Isaac.
You're welcome. Good questions.
Yeah, very good questions. Thank you. So with that, do we have any other board comments? I don't think so. All right, so with that, all in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes so have it. Back to Sandra.
Thanks, President McNaney. I feel like we're like on a anchor desk. So moving on for
That's a good one.
Commissioner Carter's section, we have item number 26, which are emergency declarations, which I'm going to suggest for the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, and we have a visitor, Chief Duffy, for the next item to discuss the canine brick fundraiser. So hi, Chief Duffy.
Hi, Chief.
Oh, he's still muted.
You still-
Chief, you are muted.
Is
There
that
we go.
better?
Yep,
There you
that's
go.
better.
Yep, now we can hear you.
Okay, great. So as per the documents received, we're looking to do a what's called a brick fundraiser for the canine unit. It's a way to get the community involved and to have them really participate, as was part of the canine program plan from the beginning. Even if that participation means giving us money, it's not just about the money, it's about engaging the community and getting to know more people. I can tell you just by word of mouth and by some of our social media posts that our announcement of the canine unit has brought in a great response. A lot of people wanting to support and donate already. So this is a more specific way of fundraising and donations. This is something, as I put in your memos, that we talked with Sarah from Park and Rec about, and we want to partner with her regarding a location in the park that will be aesthetically pleasing. The bricks are very nice, they're very sharp, and I didn't want to move forward with this without the board's knowledge and approval of it, even though I don't necessarily think it requires a formal approval. It is something that's going to be out there in the community, and I think that's important. This is something we met and discussed with the Upper Gwynedd Community Association, and they're fully behind it, and I expect them to be great supporters also.
What does it look
Is there
like?
any-
Is it a wall? What is it? I mean, what is it? I
It
know
would
the
be
bricks, are
on the
they on the ground? Are they on the ground?
Yes.
The brick?
Correct. And Sarah had an outstanding idea of possibly making a dog watering station. And dogs are certainly
Ah.
allowed in our parks, and there's plenty of them out there. And I thought that was a terrific idea. There's a place near the pavilion, near the pavilion that has a water source. Maybe we could put some bowls out there permanently mounted. Just something related to that, and again, add to the appearance and of our park, and again, get our residents engaged.
Chief,
Yes.
are you going to limit that to 100 bricks? Because in your memo, it said you think you get 100. What happens? Are you going to limit it to 100 or are you going
Oh, there's no limit. Look, I want to pave Parkside Place from Town Pike all the way down to the pool lot. That's my goal. That's my personal goal. So there's
Yeah,
no
big
limit.
ideas, big ideas.
Yep, absolutely. No limit.
Good.
How much are the bricks?
Oh, I don't have the documents in front of me, but they're around $100.
Depends on what size you're gonna get.
Yeah, it depends on what size and what things you
It's on
want on.
page, I think it's page 3 of the memo, Ruth, and it has the pictures and all.
Okay. Oh, it does.
Um,
Okay. Because I don't have.
If you want
okay.
just text or graphics, so it depends on what you're gonna get as to how much they are.
Right.
Correct.
Thanks.
And I think we've made a contact within that company, and I think we've kind of I don't want to jinx it, but we probably bettered our deal in terms of our profit margin. So we should do well with it. It's a low risk, high gain. And again, to me, the most important part about all of this, and the canine unit in particular, is having that interaction with our residents, getting more people to know us, getting more people to feel comfortable with us. And as I said at the Upper Gwynedd Community Association meeting, getting more people to feel comfortable with us means they'll talk to us. And information is our best resource in the police department. We have a lot of great resources. We have good detectives. We're members of the Major Incident Response Team, the SWAT team, Drug Task Force, and I could go on and on. But information is key for us. And the more people that engage with us and interact with us and feel comfortable with us, and at some point, even if it's 5-10 years from now, will be able to give us information about a crime that we're investigating or a crime that occurred, then that's what helps us do our job. So that's what really this is about.
Chief Duffy, I know the railings, the names of the family along that on the fence that encircle
Yes.
the playground. I know that's always such a big, people still talk about that, when they help build it, and then they put, their family name on there. And over at Norgwen Baseball, in front of the new snack stand, we had a brick fundraiser there as well. And it was really, really a popular thing. So I was excited to see this on our agenda, that we're going to be doing this. I think it's a great thing. And there's so many benefits, as you pointed out. So I think
agree.
it's terrific.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention Carl Knox, who's a friend and colleague. He's the chief of Central Bucks Regional, who I frankly kind of stole this idea from. They're building a new station, and they have a brick fundraiser for that. They also have a canine unit that they started about a year or two ago, very similar to ours, with their dogs from University of Penn. And some of their funds from their fundraiser for their new station are going towards that canine unit. So I'd love to take credit as an original idea, but got to steal from.
All right, you're not reinventing the wheel. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So.
Well, thank you, Chief Duffy.
And, President McNaney, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
But we don't
No, that's okay.
we don't need a motion on this. We just needed really consensus that everyone's good with it. So if everyone on the board, it sounds like everyone is, or at least 3 or more are. So I think I'm seeing some thumbs up on the screen, and I think everyone's good to go with it.
Yep.
I
Thank you,
appreciate
Chief
that.
Duffy.
Yeah, my pleasure to talk about it.
Thank you.
Yep, take care.
Thanks, Chief. Next up on the agenda is something that you guys will act on the 20th, and that is Resolution 17-2021, accepting Charles Staub into the DROP program. Did anyone have any questions about this item?
It's some of the questions that I have. I guess I just have to read it over again. I understood the top part, but when it got to the bottom part where it said that he was still an employee, and I guess maybe it runs differently than the one in Philadelphia, because when they were doing a drop program, they weren't still employees. So I guess that's where the part was kind of confusing.
It's very
Does it say over
specifically
4
prescribed.
years?
Yeah, Dave can explain it, but it's a very specific program, and they are individual to different types of union employees. So Dave, if you could speak to this, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, it's very specific to each bargaining unit and municipality where it's approved. In the one that we have, the officer asked the board to be accepted into the drop, and upon your approval, then as long as they meet the requirements of the drop, which is meeting the age and service requirements, they enter the drop the next month, the first day of the next month, and their pension is frozen. Their pension payment starts right away, and it's paid to a separate trust that's in the township's name. And the officer is still an employee until they terminate their employment. And the drop includes a period of time that they can only be in drop status. So they could leave on their own, or something might happen. But after 4 years of being in the drop, their employment does end per the drop terms. And at that time, when they leave or their drop ends per the terms, the monies in that trust are then, ownership is given over to the officer, and then the pension payment going forward doesn't go to that trust, but goes to wherever the officer wants it, going into the future. So what the township sees is the pension is frozen. So Officer Straub's pay for after going into the drop will not affect his pension amount. His pension will be frozen and based on his earnings for the last 3 years. But he does stay an employee, and he still will be paying, deductions. And for the VIVA plan, he still will make his officer contributions to the VIVA plan while he's under the drop status. I don't know if that helps or.
So the drop status freezes their pay. So even after they retire, the pay is not going to increase?
No, their pay will follow the contract. So he's an employee. He enjoys all the benefits.
No, I'm talking about the pay for the drop. So once he freezes that amount, when he retires, does that amount then change to the retirement that he would have gotten, or does it stay the same as when he applied for the drop?
Yeah, it stays the same. It's frozen as of that date.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter and Dave. Did anyone have any other questions? Okay, moving along to Commissioner Damsker's section. We will have 2 recognitions for great work in the Park and Rec Department on the 20th for Alex Chang for his work with our community garden, and John Murray for the Park and Rec Department volunteerism. So those will happen on the 20th. Tonight, we do have another decision item for Commissioner McNaney, the motion to appoint Rosemary Rhodes to the Park and Rec Advisory Board.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve Rosemary Rhodes to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, we have a second. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it, and we welcome Rosemary to the Parks and Rec Board.
Great, thank you, Commissioner McNaney. Next up for decision on the 20th will be the advertisement of the bid for equipment rental for various labor and stormwater projects. And I feel that's not something we usually put on the consent agenda. Sorry, I was trying to figure that one out in my head. We also have the Skelly's Carnival contract. This is something we might want to just discuss for a moment. We did ask them, we worked a lot with Lauren's office to make sure that the Skelly's contract would give us some leeway and some decision time for the carnival. So that leeway takes us to May. So at your May meeting, we'll have to decide because we need to notify them by June if we want to hold the carnival or not. So it's going to be a big decision. I hope there's more clarity by next month, but it'll probably be just as hard as last year.
Can I ask you, is that just for the fireworks contract? Is that what the one you?
No,
is
this
that
is
the one
contract for the amusements.
Oh, for the amusements. Okay.
Rides,
The fireworks.
yeah.
Separate. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so seems like there's no further questions on that. We also have resolution 15-2021, which is for a traffic signal maintenance agreement with PennDOT. This item is basically a consolidation, as Isaac alluded to earlier. Basically, PennDOT's moving to this system, which I think is a good idea, where we will just have one maintenance agreement for all of our signals in the township instead of a different maintenance agreement for each signal. This consolidates it so that if we add something, we just add it to our appendix, which is our list of items in the township. It's a lot more smooth of a process. I think it was a good idea to streamline it in this manner. So are there any questions about that? Okay, next up, it will be for a decision for a motion to approve Resolution 16-2021, authorizing a grant application for the Haynes Run Stream Bank restoration. This is the grant that Isaac spoke of earlier in the agenda as well, and I will turn it over to Liz.
Thank you. Isaac or Sandra, did either one of you want to say anything more about this this project or this grant application?
I mentioned it a bit before, but yeah, this first grant that we're pursuing, you know, it has a grant max of $250,000. The work that we're looking to do up Haynes Run from the treatment plant right now is kind of planned out in phases, kind of working up the stream from where the treatment plant is over the course of most likely, you know, a few construction seasons over the next couple of years. But everything rolling, it would be the study and design for the stream and for all the water that comes down there, so we can best have those plans put together for the next few grants. So this one's the first of that. There's the ones in May have a more attractive match to this one as well. And for projects that are of the larger size, we have experience of, you can use grants to kind of help with the match of other grant. You can combine some things that way. So we're looking into that closely, and this would be the first of a few grants we most likely would have before you to consider a resolution to support for this overall project.
Thanks, Isaac. I just love all these grants that we're applying for, and hopefully we get. I love it. So with that, do we have a motion to approve Resolution 16-2021?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
We have a second. Any public comment on this?
Stand by 1 second. We just may. 1 second, please.
Okay, thank you.
No public comment.
Okay, thank you. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it. Moving right along.
Great, thanks, Commissioner McNeely. Items 36 and 37, I'd like to move to the consent agenda. That would be the payment to Pact 1 and the payment to BSI, if everyone's good with that. Great. Then we would have a couple of the capital purchases that were planned in the 2021 budget for the wastewater treatment plant. One is a new Ford Ranger, and the other is for the clarifier sounding equipment, which is like burned in my brain because I remember Rebecca's good pictures from her presentation, which I would have no idea what a clarifier sounding equipment was without her pictures and her explanation. So did anyone have any questions about either of those items? Okay. And lastly, we have a resolution and approval for a new project scope for the electrical equipment procurement for the wastewater treatment plant. So this is the backup electrical system at the plant. We had to consult electrical engineering when trying to design the solution for this emergency procurement. And what initially was expected to work for the project just did not seem to be such a great way to go. So they've redesigned the program to be more reliable, and the equipment, they were going to be relying on some generators and things like that. And they've designed it in a different way, which unfortunately will cost a lot more, but will be much more reliable. And that's what we're looking to fix here. As everyone knows, we cannot lose power at the plant. That shuts down operations and can cause an SSO. So it's pretty well described in the memo, but did anyone have any questions on this item? Okay. And for the remainder of the meeting, we would just have the open and paid invoices. And I just wanted to give a moment to ask Foster Digital if there was any other public comment for the meeting tonight.
No public comment.
Okay, great, thanks. That concludes all of the work session items we needed to discuss, but I will ask that the board remains on the meeting for an executive session after the meeting. And just remember, we need a few minutes to turn off the live feed before we start.
Thank you, Sandra. So I guess we'll call for adjournment of the meeting.
Can I say one little more tidbit before we leave?
Absolutely.
So today begins local government week in Pennsylvania. And in honor of this week, I would like to give a shout out to the many people who practically work behind the scenes in local government because nobody knows what they do. These are the people who do the work that we take for granted and often don't notice. They keep our roads intact and paved. They make sure we have drinking water and fresh water and sewer water at our disposal. They make sure we're safe from crimes and fire and even natural disasters. They make sure we have parks and playgrounds and so many activities to do in those areas. And to all of them and all of my local government peers who are on the Zoom tonight, I want to say thank you and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's so great, Commissioner Hall. I'll pass that on to the staff as well. We're really bad at celebrating our own week because we're so busy working.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job,
Yes.
Denise.
Thank you. So anything else? All right, then we'll wrap it up for tonight. Thank you, everyone. And
Thank you.
we'll hang on for executive. Thank you.